Today's video will be about Ares, the god of war from the Greek pantheon. And this is the first guardian we're going to be coming across. So, a guardian is the second class of magical gods in this game, and they are your tanks. So, they're going to be very hard to kill and very bulky. And their abilities are more focused around controlling the enemy rather than dealing high damage, but you can see that's not going to always be the case. So here we have Ares. Health 485, 90 per level. Magical 30 plus 0.9. Physical 17 plus 3. He's very tanky as you get to the end game because he'll have 77 physical protections just by his natural scalings. So then, basic attack damage. He also has very high starting damage with his base attacks for a magical god. 38 plus 1.55 per level. You can see here, Guardians, high crowd control, high defense. These are going to be stables with Guardians. They're going to do a lot of damage. They're going to be very tanky, and they're going to control you rather than kill you. But Ares is a little different. He's more of the damage-based tank, and you'll see with his abilities. Starting here, his passive, Blessed Presence. Each completed aura item that Ares owns grants him 30 additional magical power. So auras are a special passive in this game, where instead of just granting extra power to you in particular, they'll grant extra power to every ally in your team. So they're more team-centric, and this is where Ares' team focus comes in. So, going here to his first ability, Shackles. Ares will shoot a chain out. This chain will pierce through minions, but will stick to an enemy god if it hits them, and will shackle them. A god being shackled will cripple them, which prevents stuff like jumps, dashes, any movement ability that isn't a steroid. And this includes certain other abilities, such as Vulcan's Backfire, which only pushes him back a little bit, but it's still movement. So it'll stop all of that. And it will. Additionally, this will slow the enemy and speed up Ares for each unique shackle. And I say unique shackle because when Ares shackles a god, they can fire a free chain within 2 seconds, and he can do this up to 2 times after the first shackle. Now, if he misses the first shackle, he can't fire another shackle. If he hits the first but misses the second, he can't fire a third. So you have to hit all 3. You can shackle the same god multiple times. This will not stack the damage, but it will apply an extra tick of damage. Or you can shackle multiple enemies. So then, slow speed. This is only for unique shackles. If you shackle the same enemy 3 times, this will not slow them by 45% and speed you up by 45%. But if you hit 3 separate enemies, it will speed you up by 45%, while slowing each of them by 15%. So keep that in mind. Minion damage, this will only apply once because it doesn't hit minions multiple times. 25 to 105, 20 per level, 15% of your magic power. God damage per tick, same thing, but this will tick multiple times. So now, it doesn't state how many times it hits, but from my own experience, I believe it hits 4 times, once per second. So, Ares can do a lot of damage with shackles. As you can see here, hitting 4 times with just the base scaling, that's over 400 damage for a normal ability for a Guardian. So Ares is going to be hurting you a lot if he can land those chains. So you can easily do 600 damage to someone just by chaining them. Now, something interesting to note with shackles is if you hit someone with a shackle and then wait to the very end of firing another, and then fire another shackle, it'll reset the duration you're doing damage back to 4 seconds if you fire it 2 seconds after, and then you do that 3rd time. So you can actually be ticking on someone for 8 seconds as opposed to just 4. So it's just a strategy to keep in mind. So then, cooldown 15 seconds, cost 70 to 90. Remember that if you hit a shackle, it's a free shackle, so you're not costing extra mana to fire it. Moving into Ares' second ability, Bolster Defenses. Ares will slam his sword and shield together and raise the defense of himself and all nearby allies, which will increase protections and reduce crowd control duration. So then, This is an aura ability that applies to all allies within the range with nearby Ares. It lasts for a long time, 8 seconds, as you can see here. Um, Additionally, the protection bonus is increased for each shackled enemy. This is each unique shackled enemy, I should say. And that shackle bonus is 7. This is at all ranks. So, if you have 3 enemies shackled and then bolster your defenses, you're getting 41 protections for the entire duration, not just for the lifetime of the shackle. So if you activate this with 3 gods shackled at the very end, you still get all the extra 21 protections. So it's really big bonus. You can see here, protection scales from 20 up to 40 protections. This is magical and physical. And it goes up by 5 per level. The CC reduction goes from 10 to 30%. So that 30% CC reduction is the amount that Reinforced Greaves will give you, which is huge. And it's also the same amount that Anubis' passive grants him. So this 30% is not insignificant. That turns a 1 second stun into a 0.7 second stun, which is huge. So now, cooldown 15 seconds, cost 60 to 80. So, finally, Ares' third ability here, Searing Flesh. Ares will shoot out fire from his shield in a cone in front of him, doing damage every half a second for 4 seconds, so a total of 8 times. And while he's shooting out flames, Ares is immune to knockback. So, Searing Flesh applies 2 ticks of damage. There's its normal damage per tick, and then it takes a percentage of the opponent's max health away. Of course, both limited by the amount of defense that the opponent has. So, its normal damage per tick goes from 15 to 35 damage, plus 7% of your magical power. So you're not going to be hitting hard with this, but it hits 8 times if you can land all the fire. But the percentage max health goes from 1, 2, 3% of their max health. So at max rank, not only are you hitting for 35 damage, you're also taking away 3% of the enemy's max health every tick. So you have to remember that this is a lot of damage that you're outputting with Searing Flesh. This also applies to minions and will knock back minions, so they'll continually move backwards and be kind of like flinched every time you hit them. And this max health per tick will apply to everything: gods, minions, player minions. So cooldown 12 seconds, cost 55 to 75. And finally, Ares' ultimate No Escape. Ares will leap into the air and throw out chains to any enemy nearby him when he activates his ability. And after 2.5 seconds, every enemy that has a chain on them will be pulled together and smashed together near Ares. And it will stun them. They'll take damage once they're pulled, and the stun happens when they slam together. So, Ares is CC immune while he's in the air, so that you can't just stun him out of his ultimate. That'd be lame. So the damage, 200 to 500 plus 40% of his magical power. It'll do decent damage. The stun, 1 second plus 2.2 seconds per enemy god hit. So if you end up with all 5 gods and you slam them all together, any god that gets pulled will be stunned for 2 seconds, which is massive considering that you can hit multiple gods at the same time. So now, the chains only activate within a radius around Ares, so if an enemy god's standing outside the radius, they're not going to get chained. If they're standing inside the radius, it doesn't matter how far away they move. Even if you hit them right as they go back to base, you can pull them right all the way from their base to yourself. So that can lead to some shenanigans if you time it just right. So now, mana cost 80 to 100, cooldown 90 seconds. And then going to leveling. So with Ares, there are 2. As a Guardian, he's more damage focused and early game killing potential than he is focused on bringing high CC. You can see he doesn't really have a whole lot of stuns, and the only stun is on No Escape. So you're more focused on hitting an enemy with shackles, preventing them from running away too easily, and ticking the hell out of them. Shackles does a lot of damage to people, so usually you want to level up Shackles first in the Guardian role. So, level 1, Shackles. Actually, level 1 you want to take Searing Flesh. Shackles is not good wave clear. You can't wave clear with Shackles unless you manage to hit a god multiple times. And even then, you're not doing a whole lot of damage to the wave. Because early game, your build does not give you a lot of damage. So instead what you do is you take Searing Flesh so that you can at least help your hunter clear. Remember, the duo lane is usually going to be a hunter and a guardian, or a tank, I should say, the support tank. Support tanks more often than not are guardians because that is what their base scalings are, and Ares doesn't really work very well in any other role because of lack of being able to kill minions. So, Searing Flesh is a good level 1 option because you're going to be able to help clear pretty well, but then after that, you definitely want Shackles at level 2. This is your killing ability. You're going to be very aggressive in lane against the other side, just trying to kill them with Shackles and Searing Flesh. At level 3, what I like to do is get another level of Shackles just for that high damage. You're a dangerous early game god as Ares because of his high natural scalings, and gods aren't going to really have any much defense at this point, so you definitely want high damage. At level 4, bolster defenses are a really good option. You're going to get that 20 protection bonus, which is huge in the early game because the enemy hunter isn't going to be doing a lot of damage. The enemy guardian or support isn't going to be doing a ton of damage to you, and you might as well give your hunter more survivability, as well as at about level 4 and level 5, you're going to be rotating from mid camps, so you definitely want to make the mid camp fight easier. Ares' main downside being mobility, but bolster defenses is really good in a team fight. At level 5, Ultimate. You need to get it. It's your only form of true hard CC, so you might as well have it in your back pocket. At level 6, Shackles. At level 7, Shackles. Damage. That's what they're used for. That's what you want with these things. You're going to be very dangerous at level 7 fights because you're just going to be outputting a lot of damage to people and being very hard to kill at the same time. So that is where Ares' main advantage comes from. Now, at level 8, this is where you can you have to make a choice on your next leveling ability. If you're very ahead, you want Searing Flesh and just destroying people with damage. If you're behind, though, bolster defenses is the way to go. If you're behind, you're going to just die in every fight, and Searing Flesh isn't going to be usable. So what you want to do is just give your team more survivability in the fight by bolstering their defenses, giving them CC reduction. You take more of a backseat to fights, and you kind of help your team survive the fight while you're putting out a little bit of control and preventing the enemies from running away with Shackles. So now, if you take bolster defense, no matter what you take at level 8, you take Shackles at level 9 and finish that ability off. No Escape. I'll get into why you don't level this up. It does a lot of damage, but it's very unreliable due to purification beads and how easy they are to time with this ability. So by the point in the game that you're hitting level 9, anyone who has a brain and knows enough about Ares is going to have beads ready, is going to have their beads bought, and it's highly unlikely, and they'll probably have saved their money up so that they can buy beads leaving at level 9 once they see the Ares is at level 9. As a tank, your farm is going to be significantly lower than anyone in the game, so you take far longer to hit level 9 than most other people, unless you've been steamrolling some lanes and getting a lot of kills for your team or getting a lot of kills yourself. You're not going to be really at level 9 for a while, comparatively to the rest of the game, so no Escape being unreliable is just not a good option at level 9. You definitely need Shackles. No matter what, level 10, level 11, level 12, you're going to be finishing off whichever ability you took at level 8. And then I personally don't like getting no Escape at all until the end of my leveling, because I think the other abilities offer so much more, and no Escape is really only there for the stun. The damage is nice, but it's not really relevant enough over the rest of his abilities to really warrant. So, at level 13, Shackles and one of these two abilities is done. I just start leveling up whichever one I haven't taken up to level 16 when they finish, and then level 17, 18, 19, 20, you finish off no Escape. Your leveling is done. However, in a normal game, it's rare that the support ever hits level 20 just due to lack of farm. And the fact that they're probably going to be dying most fights because you're either in the front line soaking up too much damage, or the enemy team is targeting you to make an attempt at Fire Giant or Gold Fury at some point. So you're probably not going to be surviving all that long. So it's very rare that you see a support ever hit level 20. So now, the recommended item build here. There are two main start items magical supports can go. You can either go Mark of the Vanguard, which is very good for Ares because of his tendency to fight early game. What this does is you gain 5 physical protections, 5 magical protections, and 150 health, in addition to its passive, which will reduce all incoming damage by a flat 5. So, this is more good for minions, and the reason why it's so good against minions is that Ares is going to be able to attack the enemy and not have to worry about dying to minions as easily because all the minions are going to be doing less damage to you. And since you're going to be outputting so much damage to the enemy, if your hunter catches on, and you can probably get some early kills off of aggression, and minions aren't going to be ruining your day. Those OP minions. Hate them. As a support, you definitely want Hand of the Gods. You're only going to get Hand of the Gods 1 here, because you don't have an option to get Hand of the Gods 2. It just won't happen. You always want to get 2 wards walking out of base, because you need to be able to give vision to your allied hunter. A high level tactic with supports is to get the 2 wards with even if without items, and you run out of base real quick to place down the 2 wards at the spots that you need a ward, and then you get your items and walk out with health potions and mana potions. If you don't think you're gonna be able to do that, you can get multi potions that will restore health and mana, but they'll do less. They restore a total of less than a health potion or a mana potion by itself. But if you don't think you're going to be able to get out of base quick enough after buying the wards and backing, you just buy this. You buy Mark, Hand, 2 wards, that puts you at 1200, and then you buy like 4 or 5 multi-potions, but if you have the opportunity to back after placing down your wards, you definitely want to. So now, after the start items, there are a few options for you to go into. Shoes of Focus or Reinforced Reaves or Shoes of the Magi. Preferably as the support, you want Shoes of Focus for the higher cooldown on your ultimate, meaning you're more reliably going to be hitting your stuns, because it's so easy to counter Ares' pull with Purification Beads, but if you have cooldown, your ult is going to be up before the Purification Beads are up, meaning that you're not going to have a problem. You'll see some supports sometimes, instead of going Shoes, going into Winged Wand for health and cooldown and attacks and movement speed. It's a good idea because you're not really getting a whole lot out of the Shoes of Focus. You're only getting 5% less cooldown by going into Winged Wand, and you're getting a lot of health and the slow immunity. I think that's a better option than Shoes, but if you're not comfortable with that, you can go for Shoes. They're 350 gold cheaper than Winged Wand. It can be a good idea depending on how comfortable you are with support. After that, you definitely want to go into either Heartward Amulet or Sovereignty. These are both aura items. They have similar effects. Heartward Amulet gives you 300 health and 60 magical protection, as well as an aura that will give every ally a little bit of physical protection and a lot of mana regen. And if you get and Sovereignty is similar, 200 health, 55 physical protection. Its aura gives you magical and physical protections and extra health. So remember, Ares' passive is that he gains 30 magical power for having aura items. These 2 items are good for any support, but especially with Ares because of that passive, because he's not just gaining giving all the aura effects, he's gaining 30 damage for each of these that he has. So now, after you have those 2 auras, usually a good idea is, especially if you have Winged Wand, getting a Magi's Blessing online. Since Ares doesn't have any natural ability to himself and can't really get into a fight that easily, Magi's Blessing will prevent him from being CC'd once, gives him some protections and a lot of health, which is really good with him since he's in the middle of a fight so often. So it's definitely a great idea. Now, after that, you're gonna have 4 items, or 5 if you want boot. You're gonna have 4 items online. That's when you can get a little bit more luxury with Voidstone. Voidstone will give you magical power, magical protection, reduces magical protections of enemies, And because it's an aura item, we'll give Ares an extra 30. It's a really good item, but not good. But you definitely need these items on before you even think about getting damage with Voidstone, because you need to be tanky. Now, at this point, if you have five items. Here is where you would sell your starter item and probably get some kind of boots online, late game boots. Just because they're cheap, you get a lot of mobility with the winged wand. If you went shoes first, you pick up winged wand about right after the sovereignty and the heart ward. But again, much like how tanks usually don't hit level 20 in a game, that you're usually never going to see a tank have 6 items or even 5. They need to, since tanks need to come online quickly, just due to lack of farm. You usually are gonna settle for a winged wand, or winged blade, I should say. It's not winged wand. It used to be called that. Pro tip. But you usually see them get Heart Ward Sovereignty online with their winged blade, and then that's about where they stop because they're never gonna get that. Sorry about that. They're not gonna get the farm online to get the rest of the items. So now, actives. Wrath of the Gods. This is the level 3 version of Hand of the Gods. And much like Fist of the Gods, it's a level 3 item. But Wrath of the Gods, what it's going to do... Sorry about that. It gives you the ability to insta-kill any jungle objective that is under 25% health. And by jungle objective, I am talking about Gold Fury and Fire Giant. They have health bars that will tell you when they're below 25%. And you use Wrath of the Gods, they die instantly. This is every tank needs to have this, and usually you want to get this online, like if you back and you have 600 gold, and you're not using that actively on an item, you buy Hog 3. You need this online at about 10 minutes, because that's about when the first Gold Fury fight's gonna happen, because that's usually when one team will make a rotation to solo lane and giving pressure on the Gold Fury side of the map, or they'll kill the dual lane, and then you can take Gold Fury. So you need it about 10 minutes. If you back with 600 gold, or even back with 300 spare gold, you definitely want this. You always want to be buying wards. Those are gonna save your hunter. You need it. The other active, usually Ares has to go Blink, because I mentioned that he has no natural mobility, so he doesn't have a way to get into the middle of the fight where he needs to be to use his ultimate. So Blink allows you to jump right into the middle of the fight, provided you're not in combat when you try to use it. And that way you can unleash your ultimate on the entire enemy team, rather than relying on them actually just grouping up in a poor group. So then, that's really the only good active item with Ares, just because of his lack of mobility. Heavenly Agility not really viable with him, because he's still not gonna be able to get in the fight very easily. So now skins, standard Ares, Destroyer Ares is recolor, Diamond Ares, Golden Legendary, Diamond Sword, a little bit of a throwback to one of Hi-Rez's other games, Tribes Ascend, and this skin's not available anymore, but the Smite World Championship promotional skin for Ares. And that's Ares.